Hello, everybody, and welcome to Spiritual Awakening 101. My name is Reverend Jerry Yakov, and I'm your host. Today, we're going to be discussing something that's very near and dear to my heart, and that's being the self, the true self, who and what I am, who and what you are. And here's a magazine from Science of Mind. It's entitled Guide for Spiritual Living. This is the September 2020 issue, and we're going to be reading and commenting on a particular entry. This is for September 23rd, 2020, and it's entitled I Can Be Me. There's an introductory quote from Ernest Holmes, who was the founder of Science of Mind. And he writes, Dare to be yourself. Stand in wonder before the majesty and might, the beauty and power of that divine presence which seeks expression through your individual life. So there's a divine presence, God, expressing through us, our minds, as the true self, as contrasted with the ego identification of separation and of fear. The true self identifies as love, as of joining, as of togetherness and unity. And it's a symbol and a representation of our heavenly station, which we really never leave, but we are having an experience in the human worldly condition. Well, it goes on in this article to read as follows. The best gift I can give myself is to be me, not what others want me to be. Well, here again, we're discovering that the true self is a gift from God, is a creation of God. It's not something that I establish or create myself. Now, I can make myself over, but that wouldn't be the true me. I can disguise myself. I can make myself into any number of worldly identifications with props, masquerades, all kinds of clothing, wardrobe, attachments to artificialities such as cars and homes and wealth. But that's a makeover of the true self into something that I'm really not. And I'm not in any way saying that I'm against any of the clothing or the homes or the cars or the wealth that you may accumulate, if it's used for and inconsistent with love, the true self. But very often, those kinds of masquerades are used to hide a deep dissociation from within. We don't know who we are, and we're trying to make up a self that we think the world approves of. Well, the world, frankly, does approve of wealth and of masquerading. Uh, we know it's a game, we know it's a play, it's a masquerade, and everybody has come to the party dressed in their particular lifestyle. And we know that that's not the truth. Now, my ministry teaches that behind that, and behind that, and behind that masquerading is what we called right here, Ernest Holmes said, a divine presence which seeks to express through our individual lives. So, how can we align with the divine presence and then extend that divine presence into our life, in our lifestyle, and our individuality in the world? Well, this article goes on. It says, I don't have to be interesting or entertaining. I can sit quietly and listen. I don't have to hide my feelings. I can get teary-eyed at a touching story or by being in nature. I don't have to be someone else's definition of attractive. I can be unapologetically comfortable in my own skin. Well, now we're getting into, I think, the essence of what the God consciousness presents us as kindness and love, being comfortable, not being domineering or dominating, not being egoic or selfish, but giving, extending God's love through our words, through our actions, which we begin with our thoughts. The mind is the builder. The thoughts are the essence. They determine my emotions. They determine everything that I think I want to do, and everything I think I want to say, everything I think I want to conduct myself as. That's why I have to align with my right mind. The right mind is the holy mind, is the divine mind. The wrong mind, which I have access to as free will, would be the ego, and that would be fearful. And those thoughts, I conduct myself fearfully, detached, withdrawn, covetous, envious, in certain ways, attacking people, attacking myself. Everything that I think about other people, I'm really thinking about myself. So it really is important that I think lovingly in my right mind about you, because then I think rightly and lovingly about myself. And I think lovingly and rightly about my essence, which is the divine presence which seeks to express through my individual life. Well, the writer goes on to say it's a relief to no longer hide behind the masks of who others want me to be. It took me 50 years, but I learned a lot in that time, all of which helped me stand tall as my authentic self when the time came for me to act. So here, there he's writing exactly what we've been talking about, getting the mask off, the masquerade, the false self, the idea that I'm insufficient unless I masquerade as something quite sufficient and special. I'm not special. I'm one with everything and everyone. And I'm not more accomplished, and I'm not more divine, and I'm not more special. That doesn't mean that I'm any less special or less divine, but it means that I recognize in you exactly what I recognize in myself, and that's the divinity, the Christ God consciousness, the Buddha, the Krishna self. This is the self that's true. Then how I dress and conduct myself is really an expression of being comfortable, not putting on airs, not putting on an act. I know this sounds very basic, but truly, if you don't have peace of mind, you won't have a peaceful lifestyle, no matter what you add at the masquerading and acting level. If it isn't coming from the divine presence, which is seeking to express lovingly and filled with light through our individual lives, no matter how we masquerade, we're going to have an interior feeling, a feeling at our mind level and emotionally and consciously of being in some way confused, feeling frightened, feeling alone and isolated. That's not what we want. Every attempt that we've made through the masquerading was to join. We just didn't recognize it. So we can join authentically. The article goes on to say, with encouragement from the beloved, that would be our God presence, I tried seeing myself as a shining light, though I often didn't feel very shiny. Divinely accepted, I began to accept my own uniqueness even when it didn't fit others' expectations of me or old expectations I had of myself. Well, being unique and being special are two different things. Yes, I'm an individuated expression of divinity, but that doesn't make me special and better. It just makes for a unique expression through my own personality and my own preferences and talents. And those can be divinely inspired. And then there's a joining. People aren't offended or put off by that which is divinely inspired. I'm not putting on airs. I'm not showing off. I'm not being grandiose. I'm being in and of the grandeur that we all share. And people innately recognize the sharing of grandeur. And they love it because they see the grandeur in themselves. When I recognize somebody who's expressing their grandeur. It brings up in me my grandeur, my divinity, and I recognize in them and in myself and in my divine creator that which is light and love. So it says, finally, becoming more comfortable in my own skin, I started moving through life as the uniquely new me. Well, this is a recipe, isn't it, for a new life? A new life, being reborn. Not reborn in the Christian sense, which I have nothing against at all. We're probably talking about much the same thing, but a rebirth in the consciousness of God. I am an expression. You are an expression of godliness. We are godlings. And as a full and free expression, I'm joyous and blissful. And that's the way we want to express ourselves and to include others within that sphere of expression. There's a circle that we all complete. And without us, the circle really is incomplete. It's incomplete because I'm a necessary link in this chain, mixing metaphors. But I'm necessary. And for me to think that I'm unworthy is in some way to darken that circle and to leave there a gap. I fill the gap. You fill the gap. Ultimately, there's never a gap because God creates no gaps. God only creates the whole, WHOLE, and the holy, HOLY. So I want to fulfill my destiny. My soul's destiny is to be that which God created me to be and to fulfill God's will through me and for me as me. And similarly for you, you're to fill your soul destiny and to be as God created you to be and to fulfill the God's will for you. God's expectations for you are very lofty. You are to be a king among kings, a queen among queens. We are to be royalty. We are to be loving. We are to be and enjoy the riches and the prosperity and the abundance that exists within heaven and as above, so below and on the earth. And that's the truth. And any thoughts to the contrary are wrong-minded thoughts that we can turn away from. We can give those wrong-minded thoughts up humbly to our God of our understanding and humbly ask that God remove those defects and shortcomings in our thinking because we are so much greater than that. And that isn't being narcissistic. That's being truthful. That's being comfortable in our own skin to be the king and the queen that we were designed to be. There's no shortage of kings and queens. And royalty is our nature. This is actually our inheritance. And we want to live up to our inheritance. I'm just thinking about the royal family in Britain. And oftentimes people don't live up in the royal family to their inheritance. That's not a judgment on my part. I have great compassion for people of which much is expected, because those who are given much, much is expected, and there's great responsibility. And so we have to practice to attain that lofty position and then wear the crown comfortably. Oftentimes we're born into a situation of royalty, but we don't feel comfortable with the crown, and we don't feel comfortable being on the throne. Well, this is something that our daily practice can change. This is something that we were born to grow into. This is like on-the-job training. And on-the-job training can be a wonderful experience. As a matter of fact, each lifetime that we experience is another opportunity for on-the-job training to live up to and live comfortably on the throne, wearing the crown. This is our nature. This is our very nature, and we are entitled to it. And I recognize your entitlement as well. No entitlement as a handout, but entitlement as an inheritance from the Creator itself, our Father, Mother God, the holiness that's in heaven. It says, my evolution is always unfolding. Well, that's what I was just talking about. On the job training is an evolution. The mind unfolds, the mind evolves into its natural state of greatness, of worthiness, of royalty. That's what we grow into and evolve into. You know, all the theories about evolution versus creative, just creatism, uh, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense. God did create the heavens and the earth. There's no question in my mind. But we were then given free will to expand and evolve to a point where, and some people would disagree with this, but to greatness, not mediocrity, not to a level of sameness where we're all robotic. This is not the idea at all. Living life freely and joyously and happily is an individuated expression of the divine presence through our individual lives. So each of us are like, the mushrooms that are sprouting in the spring, and we've seen them this year in the fall as well. They're covering the grass, and you see these mushrooms sprouting everywhere, and then they go through a growth period. Well, we all go through an evolutionary period. Yes, the seeds were planted. God created us as seeds, then created us as with the potential to grow. But there, where it's a co-creative experience, there the willingness, the initiative, the incentive to grow has to come from the mind that God created us as well. Our souls expand. Our souls evolve. They're on a journey, but they began as the seedlings of a soul from God. Then the expansion of that or evolution of that soul, and each of us is a soul on the soul plane, then has work to do. And it's not difficult work because it's organic. It's who and what we are. We're really just to express each moment that which we are, our royalty, our mushroomness, our light and our love, our starness. Everybody is a star. Everybody is extending light and love. And that's the space that we live in. The very ether, the very process of space and universality that we find ourselves is friendly to that expansion and that evolution. There's no squashing of it. I don't care what the outer conditions may look like. Right now, we're in a pandemic. And so it may seem like, oh, the opportunities are being in some way limited. Nothing can be further from the truth. We aren't limited in our opportunities whatsoever. The truth is that all of the evolution occurs from within and then expresses through our minds and through the third eye, which would be the Christ center right here between the eyebrows, and from our minds as we join with others, the Christ mind, the Buddha mind. It has nothing to do with conditions, circumstances which are impermanent. They come and they go. The pandemic will go. All of the negativity that people think individually and collectively will go. We'll find that what prevails is love and light and royalty. That's the truth. So it says my evolution is always unfolding. Always means always, not subject to conditions. Staying open, I'm present, engaged, and connected to what's happening around me and within me. It's an adventure. Isn't that what we want? Is to be on a soul's adventure and journey, to be looking for the next possibility. They are infinite. The soul is engaged in a journey seeking the next highest opportunity, and then the next highest adventure and opportunity, always bringing along with us those that we love, those that we know, those that we meet, those that we are yet to meet. Those kinds of interactions, family, friends, acquaintances, strangers that we yet to meet, those are all preordained. They are by divine uh, invitation. And we meet these as a holy encounter, not as a mundane encounter. They're all miracles. Every time a soul meets another soul, either on the soul plane or on the earthly plane, the universe rejoices. And the universe rejoices with possibilities, gifts. It showers us with all kinds of infinite possibilities of joy and adventure. And that's an inner adventure first, and then an outer extension or expression through our individual lives. That's the divine presence. Well, it's an adventure. I invite the transformation that comes from discovering, learning, and adjusting my perspective as something new suddenly rings true for me now at this time in my life. Well, that's an interesting possibility, isn't it? Something that was probably always around, waiting in a sense for me to experience. I then experience it. It's an ancient truth, but for me, it's a new awareness. It's a new experience. My heart sings. My mind soars with the new insight. This is an aha moment. I'd never realized before that I am the king. You are the queen. We are royalty. We're on a grand adventure, and we have no limitations. There are literally no limitations like time or money or age or health or disability or outwardly circumstances and pandemics aside. None of that makes a difference because, first and foremost, it's an inner journey. And we will be guided by the divine presence, which seeks expression through our individual life to manifest as it is intended. And I, as a soul, and you, as a soul, will then manifest to your maximum each lifetime. So that what we thought was the limit the last time, in the next lifetime becomes a new limitless maximum, and so forth, and a new limitless maximum, because love has no limits. Only fear has boundaries. Only fear has divisiveness and darkness. But when we turn on the spiritual light, we know and we are assured that we will keep on growing throughout eternity. And that makes us immortal as a soul, as a spirit, as a kingly and queenly expression of the divine presence within us that seeks to express through each of our individual lives. This gives me great hope. I feel so uplifted. There's never a reason to gossip against anybody. There's never a reason to be envious of anybody. It's as if their soul is in some way greater than yours. All souls are equal expressions of the divine presence. There can't be anything more than God's maximal expression of love and light. It's for us through our free will to accept that and then take it, so to speak, and extend it through a co-creative process. We're extending it and then extending it further. And we're removing all the blocks to the extension of God's divinity through us as individual life. This is the nature of the practice. Look at those blocks. Look at those negative thoughts. What are they hiding? We talked earlier about the masquerading and the false identification. What is that hiding underneath it? If there's something there that needs to be given up to the Holy Spirit, to the God of your understanding, it will be shown away by light, and that darkness will no longer exist. That's the truth. Well, it says, I continue to change and grow, and I'm so grateful, just as I am. I can be me. Well, being me means I'm also including being you, and you being you includes being me. Now, if that doesn't make sense, I want to clarify it just a little bit. Angels fly together, and they look very much and act very much like their divine origin. So I'm the angel that you are flying with, You're the angel that I'm flying with. And we look and we act and we seem just like our divine origin. Yes, there's individuality. Yes, there's uniqueness on the earthly plane, but on the soul plane, there is no division or separateness. And especially on the heavenly plane, there is no separation. My soul from God, the oversoul, or your soul and God, the oversoul. There, all distinctions and contrasts are really eliminated because God created everything and everyone as one. God is one, and we are an expression of the one. Now, again, I don't mean to be confusing here. I'm learning and feeling my way in an evolutionary sense as well as to how I'm one with my neighbor, how I love my neighbor as myself. But I think it has to do with one angel recognizing the sameness of another angel and uniquely expressing an individual life on the earthly plane. This is all wonderful, and this is all to be explored. This is the adventure. This is the nature, and this is the way. This is the life. Jesus is my teacher, and I've found that he is very willing when I sit in prayer and meditation to let me know exactly what it is that I need to know. And more will be revealed as I grow and expand my awareness. Then more is revealed. There's a point where I may not understand everything, but I have a grasp, and my grasp does not exceed my, excuse me, my reach does not exceed my grasp. I will eventually grasp everything that I am innately reaching for. And what are we reaching for really? But the infinite. We're reaching for the infinite, and we're going to reach the infinite and beyond. And I know that sounds a little oxymoronic, but it's true. There are no limits to the infinite, and we keep going on as souls, reaching, grasping, sharing, devoting our time and our love with each other. This is the practice and the way and the life. Well, here's a final affirmation in this reading. I am meant to be me, showing up as my unique self as spirit expresses through me. And that's the truth. And I'm just so glad that, we built this momentum in this episode. And we started with some basics and we got to the infinite. We discovered that who and what we are is limitless. And we're filled with gratitude today. We're filled with love and we're filled with light. And each of us knows that we are the other. I and thou are one. Thank you so much for being with us today. I want to thank the NECAT Network. I want to thank my wife Candace for editing these episodes. And I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. And until our next episode, namaste, shalom, and peace. We'll see you next time.